What if the strongest women you know are the ones who live alone not because they can't find love, but because they've already found something greater? In a world that tells us we need a partner to be whole, these women are breaking all the rules and they're thriving because of it. Carl Jung, the genius behind modern psychology, uncovered a hidden truth about why some women choose this path. It's not about loneliness, it's about power, self-discovery, and rewriting the rules of love and happiness. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that's exactly what these women are doing, finding their true selves in the silence of solitude. Stick around, because we're about to dive deep into Jung's powerful idea, and I'll share a story of a woman who faced her darkest fears and came out stronger than ever. You won't believe how it changed her life, and it might just change yours too. Let's be real. In a world obsessed with couples, a woman who chooses to live alone often gets labeled, "She must be lonely." They say, "She's too picky," or even worse, "She's damaged." But what if everything we've been taught about women living alone is wrong? These women aren't lost. They're choosing themselves. They're not cold. They're just done settling for less than they deserve. And that choice, that strength, makes a lot of people uneasy. Think about it. We're surrounded by messages screaming that you need a partner to be happy. On social media, it's all about perfect couple goals. In movies, it's the fairy tale ending where the heroine always finds her prince. Even at family dinners, you hear it. When are you going to settle down? Don't you want to start a family? But these women are rewriting the script. They're showing us something powerful. You don't need a man to feel whole. You can be your own source of strength. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a woman in her late 30s, sitting alone in a coffee shop. She's sipping her latte, reading a book, a gentle smile on her face. At the table next to her, a couple whispers, "She's so pretty." Why is she alone? Maybe she can't find anyone. But what they don't see is the peace in her eyes. What they don't know is the journey she's been on. She's not alone because she failed. She's alone because she chose to stop shrinking herself to fit someone else's idea of who she should be. And here's the thing. Society doesn't know what to do with a woman who doesn't need saving. She's a threat to the outdated idea that women should always be searching for someone to complete them. That kind of freedom, that kind of power, challenges everything we've been taught to believe. Have you ever felt judged for being single? Or maybe you've admired someone who seemed so free, so unapologetically themselves when they're on their own. I know I have. I remember watching my aunt in her 50s living alone after her divorce. Everyone pitied her. But I saw something different. I saw a woman radiating joy. A woman who built a life on her own terms. And that's exactly why we need to talk about this. Because these women aren't failing at life. They're redefining what success looks like. They're proving that happiness doesn't come from someone else. It comes from within. But why does their choice make so many people uneasy? Let's dive into that next. So why does a woman who thrives alone make so many people uneasy? Let's turn to Carl Jung, a man who saw the human soul in ways no one else dared to. Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist, a visionary who believed we all carry a hidden side, a shadow, the parts of ourselves we bury deep because we're too afraid to face them. For a woman who chooses to live alone, that shadow isn't just a concept. It's her battleground. It's the shame she felt for not fitting society's mold, the childhood wounds she never spoke of, the need for approval she once clung to like a lifeline. Jung said, "Everything we deny in ourselves becomes part of our shadow, and it controls us until we confront it." These women aren't running away from love. They're running toward truth. They've looked their shadow in the eye, those raw, messy parts of their soul, the insecurities, the anger, the fear of rejection, and instead of turning away, they've embraced them. That's what Jung called individuation, the journey to become whole by accepting every piece of who you are. the light and the dark. And for these women, solitude isn't loneliness. It's the sacred space where they've done their deepest work. They've faced the ghosts of toxic relationships where they gave too much and got too little in return. They've confronted the pain of feeling invisible, the fear of never being enough, the voices in their head that told them they'd never measure up. And through that struggle, they've come out the other side, stronger, freer, more themselves than ever before. Let me give you an example. Imagine a young girl who grew up hearing she wasn't good enough, that she needed to be quieter, smaller, more agreeable to be loved. That girl became a woman who spent years in relationships that drained her, relationships where she dimmed her light to make others feel brighter. But one day she walked away, choosing solitude over suffering. In that quiet space, she began to unravel the layers of her shadow, the pain she'd buried, the anger she'd suppressed, the dreams she'd abandoned, and in facing those truths, she found a strength she never knew she had. That's the power of Jung's idea. It's not just about healing, it's about transformation. These women show us that facing your shadow isn't easy, but it's the path to true freedom. So let me ask you, what's hiding in your shadow? What fears or wounds have you buried that might be holding you back? Maybe it's the fear of being alone, the shame of not meeting expectations, or the pain of a past betrayal. Take a moment to think about it. We're about to meet a woman who faced her shadow head-on, and what she discovered might just inspire you to do the same. Let's meet Sarah, a 40-year-old woman whose story brings Carl Jung's ideas to life in the most powerful way. Sarah wasn't always the confident woman she is today. For years, she felt trapped in relationships that made her feel small, unworthy, like she was never enough. She gave everything: her time, her energy, her dreams, but always ended up empty, heartbroken, and lost. She stayed in those relationships because she was terrified of being alone, terrified of what people would think, terrified of failing at love. Deep down, she knew something had to change. But the fear of the unknown kept her stuck for far too long. One day, Sarah hit her breaking point, after yet another painful heartbreak, where she felt more invisible than ever. She made a choice. She walked away, choosing herself over a life that no longer served her, a life that drained her spirit. At first, the solitude was overwhelming. The silence felt heavy. The loneliness felt like a weight she couldn't bear. She'd sit in her apartment at night, staring at the walls, wondering if she'd made a mistake, wondering if she'd ever feel whole again. But in that quiet space, something powerful began to happen. Sarah started facing her shadow, just like Jung described. She bought a journal and began writing, pouring out her fears onto the page. The fear of being unlovable, the fear of never being enough, the fear that she'd always be alone. She wrote about the childhood wounds that shaped her, the times she was told to be smaller, quieter, less demanding to be loved. She even wrote about the anger she'd buried for years, the resentment toward those who made her feel invisible, the frustration with herself for letting them. Through this process, Sarah began to see herself in a new light. She realized she'd spent years dimming her own shine to make others comfortable, to fit into a mold that was never meant for her. But now, in her solitude, she was reclaiming her light. Piece by piece, she started small, taking herself on walks in nature, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face, listening to the rustle of leaves under her feet. She rediscovered hobbies she'd abandoned, like painting vibrant landscapes and practicing yoga to reconnect with her body. She found joy in her own company, something she never thought possible, something that felt like a quiet rebellion against everything she'd been taught. Over time, Sarah's confidence grew stronger. She began to set boundaries, saying no to people and situations that didn't honor her worth. She started speaking up for herself, something she'd never done before, and it felt liberating. At 45, Sarah is still living alone, but she's never been happier. Her home is now a sanctuary, filled with her artwork, her books, her laughter. Her solitude isn't a sign of failure. It's a testament to her strength, a strength she found by facing her shadow head on. Sarah's story shows us what's possible when you do the hard work of looking within. It's not easy. It's messy. It's rough. But it's worth it. So, how can you start your own journey? Just like Sarah did first. Notice your triggers. What makes you feel small or unworthy? That's your shadow speaking, trying to get your attention. Second, write it down. Be honest with yourself. No judgment. Just let the words flow. Third, find a safe way to express it. Maybe through art like Jung's mandalas, or by talking to someone you trust, or even dancing it out to your favorite song. And finally, be patient with yourself. This isn't a race. It's a journey, and every step forward is a victory. What's one trigger you've noticed in your own life? Maybe it's a moment when you felt less than, or a memory that still stings when you think about it. Take a moment to reflect, because understanding your shadow is the first step to reclaiming your power. Sarah's story is a powerful reminder of what's possible when you face your shadow. But her journey isn't just hers. It's an invitation for you to start your own. In today's world, we're often told we need a partner to be happy, to feel complete, to have a life that looks successful. On social media, it's all about the highlight reels. Couples posting their perfect vacations, their matching outfits, their romantic dinner dates, under fairy lights. In movies, we're fed the same narrative, that a woman's story isn't complete until she finds her happily ever after with someone else, as if her worth depends on being chosen. And in our own lives, we feel the pressure too. The constant questions from friends or family. Are you seeing anyone? Why are you still single? Don't you want to settle down? It's as if being alone means you're missing something, that you're somehow incomplete, that you failed at some unspoken test of womanhood. But women like Sarah are proof that this narrative is a lie. They show us that true happiness, true fulfillment, doesn't come from someone else. It comes from within, from loving yourself first, from building a relationship with yourself that's so strong, no one can shake it. Carl Jung believed that the journey to wholeness, to individuation, starts with facing your shadow. But it doesn't end there. It's also about building a life where you're your own source of joy, your own source of strength, your own safe haven. A life where you don't need someone else to feel whole because you already are. So how can you apply this to your own life? How can you start loving yourself the way Sarah learned to, the way so many women are learning to? Let's break it down into practical steps you can start today. First, shift your mindset. Stop seeing solitude as a punishment and start seeing it as a gift, a sacred space to reconnect with yourself, to discover who you are when no one else is watching, to hear your own voice above the noise of the world. Second, set boundaries that honor your worth. Say no to relationships, friendships, or situations that make you feel small, that dim your light, that leave you feeling drained. You deserve to be surrounded by people who lift you up, who see your worth, who celebrate your shine, not tear it down. Third, invest in yourself, deeply and intentionally. Spend time doing things that bring you joy, things that make you feel alive, things that remind you of who you are at your core. Maybe it's taking a pottery class and feeling the clay take shape in your hands, or learning to cook a new recipe that fills your kitchen with warmth, or simply sitting in a park with a good book, the sun on your face, the breeze in your hair. Whatever it is, make time for it, because you're worth it, because your joy matters. Fourth, practice self-compassion every single day. Be kind to yourself when you make mistakes, when you feel lost, when you're not perfect, because no one is. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to a dear friend, with gentleness, with understanding, with love. You're human, and that's what makes you beautiful, flaws and all. And finally, celebrate your growth, no matter how small. Did you say no to something that didn't feel right? That's a win. Did you take a moment to rest instead of pushing yourself too hard? That's a win. Did you look in the mirror and smile at the person looking back? That's a win. Loving yourself isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a commitment to showing up for yourself the way you'd show up for someone you love. A promise to keep choosing yourself, even when the world tells you not to. Let's think about this for a moment. In a world that's always pushing us to look outward for validation, for love, for approval, women like Sarah are teaching us to look inward for peace, for strength, for wholeness. They're showing us that solitude can be a sanctuary, a place where you heal, where you grow, where you become the fullest version of yourself, unapologetically you. And when you love yourself like that, something incredible happens. The right kind of love finds you, not because you need it to feel whole, but because you're already whole on your own. Because you've built a life so full of love for yourself that any love that comes along is just a beautiful addition, not a necessity. So let me ask you, what's one thing you can do today to start loving yourself more? Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't feel right, or taking a moment to celebrate a small win, or writing down one thing you love about yourself, or even looking in the mirror and saying, I'm enough, just as I am. Whatever it is, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below, because your journey to self-love is just as powerful as Sarah's, just as meaningful, just as beautiful. And it starts with one small step, a step you can take right now. We've journeyed deep into the hidden truth of Carl Jung, uncovering why some women thrive alone, not because they've failed at love or life, but because they've chosen something greater, themselves. We started by breaking the stereotypes that society places on women, those outdated labels that say, you're incomplete without a partner. We explored the courage it takes to face your shadow, the parts of yourself you've hidden away, the fears, the wounds, the insecurities, and how confronting them can set you free. We witnessed Sarah's incredible transformation, a woman who went from feeling small and invisible to reclaiming her light, her joy, her power through solitude, and finally we learned how to apply this to our own lives. How to love ourselves in a world that often tells us we're not enough, that we need someone else to be whole. But here's the truth we've uncovered together. You don't need someone else to feel whole. You are already whole, already enough, already powerful beyond measure, just as you are. Solitude isn't a curse. It's a sacred space, a sanctuary where you can heal, where you can grow, where you can become the truest version of yourself. Unapologetically, you. Just like Sarah did. Just like so many women are doing right now. This isn't just a story. It's a movement. A call to rewrite the narrative. To choose yourself. To embrace your own journey of self-discovery. No matter what the world says. So let's pause for a moment and reflect. What's the next step on your journey to self-love? What's one thing you can do today to honor your worth? to reclaim your light, to choose yourself unapologetically. Maybe it's setting a boundary you've been afraid to set, or starting that journal to explore your own shadow, or simply taking a moment to breathe and remind yourself, I'm enough. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, because your story matters, your journey matters, and this community, Jung Psyche Hub, is here to support you every step of the way, to cheer you on as you grow into the fullest version of yourself. If this video resonated with you, if it sparked a fire within you, if it made you feel seen, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. A friend, a sister, a woman in your life who's struggling to see her own worth. Let's spread this truth together. That loving yourself is the most powerful act of all. That solitude can be a space of strength, not shame. And if you want to dive deeper into Carl Jung's wisdom, into the journey of self-discovery that can transform your life, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a video from Jung Psyche Hub. We're just getting started, and there's so much more to explore together. More stories, more insights, more ways to help you uncover your true self. Before we part ways, let me leave you with this. You are not alone on this journey, even in your solitude, because this community is here for you, rooting for you, celebrating you. So keep choosing yourself, keep shining, keep growing, because you are enough, exactly as you are, today and always. See you in the next video.